everyone. Welcome to Kazakhstan American Corners program, how to make a competitive application for the online master's degree. My name is Inara. I'm the coordinator of American Corner in Aktubiye. So today's speaker is Jeffrey Mack Morris, a Troy University graduate student and a graduate assistant. So Mac will share with us about strategies and recommendations of how to find a graduate assistantship and decoding applications and components and resources. So please, for a stable connection, turn off your microphones when you are not using it. And if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat box or at the end of the meeting during Q&A. So please be active and don't shy. I pass the floor to Mac. Mac, please.
Good evening, everyone. Like you heard, my name is Jeffrey Mack Morris. I actually go by just Mac. I have all my life. I go to Troy University. I'm a graduate student in the Student Affairs Counseling Program, and I'm a graduate assistant in the Center for International Programs on campus. And I'm also an intern, a virtual intern for Education USA Kazakhstan. So today I'll be presenting about competitive application for the funded master's degree. So today I'll be talking about funding, specifically graduate assistantships. This is something I'm very passionate about because without one, I wouldn't be in graduate school right now. And also I'll be breaking down 3 parts of the application: the personal statement, recommendation letters, and your curriculum vitae. Sorry. Yep, okay, so funding. So graduate assistantships, these can be considered as part-time jobs that offer the opportunity to go to graduate school for free. They are considered part-time jobs because they typically require students to work 20 hours a week. And the graduate assistants were founded to offer financial assistance and provide professional experience. In my case, I receive it covers 2 classes, which are considered full-time for graduate students, and has a monthly stipend. So I get like a $550 stipend per month that I can use towards other bills, things of that nature. Also, I wanted to highlight on here, in select cases, I've heard of graduate assistantships offering like room and board. This would be, I think, if you're like a graduate assistant in like the housing office on campus. And also I wanted to make sure that you knew that this may not cover university fees, and the same would go for a scholarship. Universities typically have certain fees they add on that aren't part of the tuition, or so, for example, like a classroom fee, health facility fee, things like this. So graduate assistantships continue. The benefits, like I said, little to no tuition, and a monthly stipend that you can choose, you can spend however you want. Legal income for international students. This is a really big one where I work on campus because international students aren't allowed to legally work off campus. And graduate assistantships, as far as on-campus jobs, offer the most money possible. May offer the ability to have a reduced course load. This is another big one in the office that I'm a GA in, because international students are required to take a certain amount of classes per semesters to stay in legal status, but with the graduate assistantship, they can take less because they are working at 20 hours a week. Professional experience. I think this is probably one of the most important ones for me, especially if you're able to secure a GA position in an office related to your major or future career. For example, I am interested, or I'm going to have a career in international education, and being a GA in the Center for International Programs gives me that experience working in this field. Similarly, It looks great on your resume. It's a resume booster or a CV booster, and also networking opportunities. This gives you a chance to meet people in the major career that you're interested in going into and advance it. For example, I didn't know about the Education USA program until one of my coworkers from my GA position recommended it to me. So I wouldn't be here without this GA position. So hopefully, if you're able to get a GA position, networking and meeting these new people and these professional relationships are very important because they can help you in future endeavors. So types of graduate assistantships. There are actually 3 types of graduate assistantships. First, you have your graduated administrative assistant. So this is what I am. These can be considered as kind of a catch-all, like a secretary for the office. Pretty much, they do a little bit of everything. Provide administrative support to faculty, staff, students in a specific department on campus. So you're going to find these in your housing office, Center for National Programs, career services, even like in your different colleges, college education, college of business, things like this. And these are going to be common at all universities because all universities have these offices. Next, you're going to have your graduate research assistant. These are a little bit more specific. They lead and support faculty and research initiatives. So you have the opportunity to join a faculty member. Sometimes they'll usually post research initiatives that they're doing research plans, and you can offer to join them, or you can start your own. And these are going to be most common at your research universities. So pretty much any university that ends with tech, for example, Georgia Tech or A&M, like Texas A&M, these are like your research universities. My university is not a research university, so we don't have many of these. I've only seen like maybe 1 or 2, because we're more focused on like education, business, things like this. We're not really focused on the STEM majors. And next, last, you're going to have your graduate teaching assistant. This is pretty much what it sounds like. Teach or assist undergraduate classes in the field of their degree assistantship. For example, if you are getting your master's in biology, you can help a biology professor or teach your own biology class in the undergraduate. This is very beneficial for like your resume. It's going to give you the experience, and it's going to help you actually know the material better because, you know, if you actually teaching it helps you learn it better. And these are going to be common at all universities because all universities teach. So finding graduate assistantships. If you're interested in going, well, how do I find them? Graduate school application and scholarship. So there might be a question in the application, the general application you fill out that asks if you're interested in these opportunities. And if you have a good application, you might be considered or contacted about having one of these. This happened to one of my supervisors at Troy. She just had a good application, so she was contacted about being a graduate teaching assistant. Also, scholarship. If you maybe have another scholarship, being one of these GAs can be included in that. Like I mentioned earlier, networking. Networking is key. Getting to know people and knowing who to ask for these positions. This can apply for when you're at the university, but before you go ahead, you can contact the university's admission counselors and recruiters. Every university has like an international admissions department with admission counselors and recruiters. Their job is to help incoming international students, prospective international students. And these are very nice people. I work right next door to them. Their job is to help you, and they could get you in contact with really the people that you need to talk to and how to find these positions. Your home university's professors. This is kind of that knowing who to ask, networking aspect. Maybe they can know of positions at future at universities in America that you go to, and they can also put in a good word for you, kind of and support you. This will look really bode very well for you. Next, the department's faculty and staff. What I mean by this is if you are planning to major in physics, you might want to contact the physics department, physical faculty, the head of the physics department about these opportunities. And every university is going to have a directory, which means it's going to usually be located on the home university's webpage, where you can just search like Department of Physics, and it's going to pop up all the people in that university and their contact information. And lastly, inquiring about graduate assistantships may lead you to find open positions before they are posted online and help build connections. What I mean by this is GA positions, graduate assistantships, have a lot of turnover because they only last for 2 years, which is how long a person usually goes to graduate school for. So a lot of people leave, graduate, and so on. These departments know that. They usually know beforehand when the person working is leaving. So they know that they need to start looking for people, but it might not be posted yet. So getting in contact, knowing who to ask, it can certainly get your foot into the door. Next, the university's resource website. This is how at my university, graduate assistantships are posted, and it's going to be posted just like a job would be. You're going to go in there, employment opportunities, see a GA position. It's going to give you all the facts and details about that position, like where it is, what's your application, what they need, the responsibilities, all those things. Next, the university's financial aid website. GA positions, graduate assistantships, are a source of like a financial aid. So they might be located on this website as well. And you can find these website by simple, just search whatever university you're going to, and then type in financial aid, and it should pop up. Next, the specific college's website. So if you're going to study in the college education, there's a web page just for that department. So it's going to, in my case, it would be Troy University College of Education, and these might be posted on there as well. University's Career Center. So every university is going to have a career center. The responsibilities of the center is to help you find a job after you graduate, but they could also help you find a job when you're in school or even before you start. So this department, this university's, this website might have helpful resources to do so. Lastly, job boards. So what I mean by this is LinkedIn. If you are not familiar with LinkedIn, this is like a social media platform for professionals. So you can actually search for jobs through here. I wouldn't recommend really applying through the jobs through LinkedIn or any other job boards you find, but this would give you an idea of what you know out there, but that you know what's out there. And it's usually said like graduate assistantships in a certain department, and then you can contact this department and then they can help you apply. Lastly, Handshake. It's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is mostly likely used when you actually are enrolled in the university. You're going to give like credentials to log in, and this is a way to search for jobs at the university and network with other people in the university. And if all else fails, I just recommend just searching whatever university, graduate assistantships, and see what pops up. And if it pops up with like, for example, a job board like Indeed or jobs only, something like this, I wouldn't recommend applying through there, but it would give you an idea of what's available and who to contact. So, competitive application components. First, I'm going to talk about the personal statement. Personal statement can make or break your chance of being accepted, can make your application stand out because you are telling this unique story. A lot of times when people apply to graduate school, they have similar applications, similar CVs because they have similar credentials. They've had the same experiences as far as, going to undergraduate, the same major. So this is going to give you a chance to tell your story and make it stand out. Gives you the chance to convince the reader on why you'll be a great addition to the program. That's all the graduate application is a sales pitch to the university where you're trying to market yourself. For example, showcase your abilities that were not in your application. This is something that I'm going to highlight throughout the personal statement that'll make it stand out and be unique. So arguably the most important part of the personal statement is brainstorming. Asking, what do you want your personal statement to accomplish? What do you want the reader to take away from the essay? What do you want the university to know about you? Do you want them to know that you're hardworking, that you're motivated, dedicated? What do you want them to know? A lot of people tend to write about these values. So asking yourself, how do these values align with the university? How does hardworking, how is it going to make me a successful graduate student, a successful applicant, student at the university? And you can talk about those reasons and try to convince the reader. Why would these values make me successful? What life moments or obstacles taught me these values? So what story, how did you realize that you were hardworking? What motivated you to be hardworking, for example? And also motivation. A lot of people tend to write about motivation. This is actually something graduate schools look for. It'll make a good story to tell, very intriguing. So, for example, the motivation of why you chose this field or major, and then why you might be a stronger applicant than others, because graduate schools are going to receive so many similar competitive applications. So you want to make sure yours stand out and you offer something no one else can. So the introduction, this is a very part of the personal statement because this is when you can either grab or lose the reader's attention. Like I said, they're going to review so many of these that you want to make sure your paper starts off with intrigue. How do you do this? Well, make sure that you are asking, you raise questions in your introduction. You set the stage, you want to intrigue the reader. For example, something happened that changed my life forever. What I mean by this is in the introduction, let's say you're telling a story about you overcoming an obstacle. Well, you want to kind of lay the groundwork for, well, and have the reader asking like, well, what happened? What's this obstacle? I hope that makes sense. The body, this is where you're going to actually tell the story, like what the obstacle is, use descriptive language and make a connection with the reader. You want them to feel like they're there. And only problem with the body is you're going to answer these questions that intrigued your reader in the first place. So it's very important to keep asking questions. For example, how did you overcome this life's obstacle, this life change? Conclusion, this is, in my mind, in my opinion, the most important part of the personal statement, because this is when you can make the argument on why you should be accepted. How to accomplish this? You're going to say, well, why does this story matter? Why did you tell me this story? Explain that to the university. And why does this story make you a good fit for the university and the program? Also, be specific when talking about why you, the school, and the program are a good fit. For example, when you're saying like, talking about the university, don't use general terms like it's a good university, has a good reputation, because you want to be more specific on why you think these things. Why is this the way it is? So advice for writing the personal statements. Write not only about the university, but the specific program and maybe even faculty. So you want to be very specific. You're not just applying for the university, but the specific program. And why does this program, and talk about why does this program at this university stand out compared to the same program at another university? And this might be a good reason to talk about the faculty, because this university has so-and-so faculty, my interest and correlate with theirs. Like I said, do not use general terms to describe the university. For example, not saying it's a good school, but why is it a good school? Of course, they know it's a good school. A lot of people can just say it's a good school, but why? So what does the reader pay attention to? They want to know, see a unique story. They want to also see a unique applicant. And they want to see if this essay is just composed for their application. That's why it's very important to be specific and talk about the certain programs, certain faculty members, certain university, rather than just saying, I'm applying for the so-and-so program. Being very specific, this shows that you took time and you're dedicated and motivated to attend this certain university, that you're invested in this university. Also, as this information I can find on the resume or application. This is a pet peeve with a lot of graduate schools or the people who are reviewing your application, because if they see a personal statement that has the same information that the rest of your application or or CV has, they might get bored because like, well, I already know this information, and vice versa. If they see your personal statement with this information and they see it on the CV and rest of the application, they might become bored with the application. Okay, why do you want to attend this their university? For example, not being specific. Why do you want to attend this specific program? You're not just applying for the university, but the specific program as well. And what makes it stand out compared to the same programs at other universities? Effort in composing the personal statement. This bodes very well for you. It shows your work ethic, and it's going to increase the quality of your personal statement. But also, for example, the way you can show this is through correct grammar. What can the applicant bring to the program? This is also a very important one, because a lot of times people write their personal statements about what the university can do for them. For example, if they major in this, they get accepted, they can further advance their career. But what can you do for the program when you're accepted? What can you bring to the table? What can you offer? Lastly, answer the question being asked. So if your personal statement is a certain question, a certain prompt, make sure that you stick to this prompt and do not veer away from this. So next, recommendation letter. Provide support for the application. Recommendation letters can be thought of as an endorsement. For example, a lot of times in America, you'll see on TV professional athletes, movie stars endorsing a certain product, and this makes you want to try the product because, well, if it's good enough for them, it's going to be good enough for me. I like them. I'm going to like the product as well. And this is what the recommendation letter pretty much accomplishes. It's an endorsement on behalf of you that's saying that, well, this person is qualified, good enough to get into the program, to this university's program. It can push your application in the accepted stack. So there's a lot of times that applications are right on the edge, and recommendation letters can give that little push, so to speak, to get it into the applications that are going to be accepted. Graduate schools usually require 3 to 4 of these letters, because you're going to have your recommendation letters for the graduate school, and you might have graduate recommendation letters actually for the specific program. And every university is going to do this different. So this is something that you're going to want to research to find out what your university requires. So recommendation letters continued, who to ask and who not to ask. You want to ask someone that knows the details you want the university to know about you. They can't write about something that they don't know. For example, asking yourself, well, does this person know that I'm hardworking? And do they, because they can't write about those things if they have no idea about that. So making sure you ask the right person in this sense. Someone familiar with your academic professional work. So advisors, professors, bosses, and supervisors. This is very important and will bode very well for you because graduate school is a very academic and professional environment. Lastly, someone with a degree in the field you are pursuing. For example, you want to get you're going to go to dentistry school. Having a dentist write the recommendation letter is can bode very well also. Who not to ask? Family and friends. Unfortunately, you can't ask your grandmother, your mom, brother, or your best friend to write your recommendation letter because a lack of academic and professional recommendation letters could be a red flag for universities. What I mean by this red flags is it could prompt the university to ask, well, why doesn't this person have these recommendations? Is there something wrong? Something wrong? Like why don't they have these recommendations? Also, family and friends may be biased. For example, your mom, your brother, or grandmother is obviously going to maybe say something very good about you and say how you're a qualified candidate, even though if you may not be. So finding a recommendation letter, like I said, you want someone that knows the details that you want them to know, you want the university to know. Be careful who you select for writing a recommendation letter because you might not actually ever see what they say about you. A lot of times the recommendation letter is done, the university just asks for the contact information of the person writing the recommendation letter, and you never actually see the recommendation letter. So you want to be very confident in that you selected the right person. A good way of doing this is just making a list of all the people you would think that would be a good candidate to write a letter, and then narrow down the list. To narrow down, you can ask your questions such as, do they know you well enough to write a letter for you? And do they have examples? This is very important. The examples part is because instead of just saying in the letter that this person's hardworking, dedicated, motivated, they can give specific examples, practical examples as why. What did you show them? What did you do that made them, that showed them that you have these characteristics? Ask them, do they know you well enough and comfortable writing a letter? So you want to make sure that they're comfortable writing a letter, as also if they're comfortable in the with writing the letter, the quality of the letter is going to increase because they're going to be more happy, more motivated to write this letter. Ask yourself, do you feel comfortable with them writing a letter, and do you have any doubts? This is going to, I guess, ease your mind. Applying to graduate school is a very anxiety-provoking activity. So this being comfortable, if you're comfortable, you don't have any doubts, is going to lower this anxiety. Lastly, like I've kind of said, it's important that both the writer and you feel comfortable and confident in the quality of the letter. So how to ask. This is very important. This is the most important part of the recommendation letter process. So you want to contact them about setting up an appointment. Reaching out, stating that why you believe they will be a good person to write the letter, and make sure you have this face-to-face interaction or like a Zoom call, something like this, where it's easy to discuss and showcase the attributes you would like the letter to contain. For example, it's easier to talk about and give the person writing the letter better resources and help to write the letter if you can talk in real time like this, rather than just emailing or talking on the phone. And like I said, if this appointment is not possible, email is okay, but I definitely recommend making sure you set up this face-to-face interaction, this real-time interaction with the person that's going to write your recommendation letter. Because as you're going to see on the next slide, or I believe there are a lot of resources that you can provide the writer that will certainly be easier if you have this face-to-face real-time interaction. So if they agree to write the letter, make sure that you're applying them with why you're applying, talk about your goals. So like your personal statement, this can help the writer, the person writing your recommendation letter, know a little bit more about you and what to add to the recommendation letter. Resume and curriculum vitae. So this can help them understand a little bit more about what you offer and kind of help solidify their message on why you're going to be a great addition to the university. Types and details of the relationship can showcase positive attributes. So this is what I kind of said earlier about this practical examples. For example, instead of just saying this person is a good worker, person can say, for example, this person showed positive characteristics when working together because of this, and this. What did they do at this time we were together? Specific university guidelines. This is something I'll talk about a little later, but how I like submitting the recommendation letter. Make sure that they're familiar with the format, because a missing recommendation letter can reflect poorly on your application. What university and program you are applying for. Like, again, being specific. If they know these specifics, they can help tailor the writer tailor what they know about you to the position and be specific instead of just saying this person's applying to the so-and-so program or this university. They can be very specific in what they say. When you're applying, this is arguably the most important, because you want to be considerate of their time. The writer may have other responsibilities that may cause the letter to wait, because they're doing this voluntarily. You don't want to wait to the last minute to ask them, and make sure that they're aware of these due dates. If they know beforehand, they can have a better quality letter, and this is going to reflect well on you, because it's going to show them that you're not a procrastinator, that you're on top of things. So advice for the recommendation letter. Just getting to know the people that you want to write your recommendation letter. It's okay if you don't have anybody right now, but just doing things like, maybe speaking up in class, taking on additional projects and responsibilities. Also, do not be pushy, be professional. They are doing this voluntarily, to help you. So be professional in asking and do not be forceful. Know the due date, as I mentioned earlier, making sure that this recommendation letter gets submitted. Also, a very interesting piece of advice I found was, in my case, when I applied to graduate school, I had to apply to the graduate school and the graduate program. And for applying for the graduate program, I actually got to see my recommendation letters. I just submitted a PDF copy. But for the graduate school, I never actually got to see the recommendation letter. I just was able to submit the name and contact information of the person that's going to write the letter. If you're ever given an option between these two things where you can choose one or the other, make sure that you select the option where you never actually see the recommendation letter. This is going to communicate more, I guess, trustworthiness, more trust on behalf of the university, that you didn't tamper with the letter, which not that y'all ever would. Follow up on updating. So recommendation letters are written voluntarily, so you want to make sure you follow up with a thank you, showing your appreciation. Want to let the writer know when the letter has been turned in, letting them know that they could be contacted, because it is possible recommendation letters have their contact information on it. So this is also possible. Letting them know the results. It goes without saying that they have an invested interest in your application because they helped you. So they're going to know they want to know what's going to happen. Following up will help maintain this good relationship. You want to make sure you have these good relationships, because you never know when you're going to need them in future endeavors. Okay, lastly, the curriculum vitae. This is convince the graduate school on why you're a qualified applicant. Curriculum vitae should highlight the past and current accomplishments. The curriculum vitae is a very important part of the graduate school's sell pitch. So, what to avoid: these irrelevant experiences, like your grade school education and accomplishments, grammatical areas, like spelling, punctuation, correct use of past and present tenses. For example, if you went to school in the past, make sure that you speak in past tense. False information. I hope none of y'all would ever lie on your curriculum vitae. An unreadable font. Make sure that it's easy to read. What to include? These relevant experiences. Your most relevant experiences should come first. As a prospective graduate student, education will be the most relevant. Sections, like your education section, so your undergraduate degree and higher, and also if you completed a thesis during your undergraduate, make sure you highlight this, because this can give you a competitive advantage. It came to my attention that when reviewing another person's CV, that I guess in Kazakhstan, a lot of people complete theses during their bachelor's degree. That's not the case in the United States. So, and that's going to be usually the case when you go to graduate school. So make sure that you have showing that you did a thesis and have this experience is going to be very helpful. Next, volunteer opportunities, showing that you're a well-rounded person. Work experience, internships, and technical skills. Technical skills, like if you're familiar with Microsoft Office, things of that nature. And under each section, you want to list the items from most recent to less recent. For example, what you did, you're still doing, or did maybe just a year ago, and then work yourself where it gets farther in the past. To continue, make sure you use readable font, and use verbs instead of adjectives. For example, saying what you completed, rather than just saying like I am hardworking, I am motivated. Unless you have an overview section in your curriculum vitae, which is going to be usually at the top. It usually state like what your objective is and what kind of person you are. It's an overview of this curriculum vitae. So lastly, resources. There are a lot of resources out there for you all. For me, in my opinion, the most important is going to be Purdue OWL, not just for the application. It'll have issues on your curriculum vitae. It'll have resource information on your curriculum vitae, personal statement, everything. But it's also going to be a great tool to use actually when you get into graduate school, because it's going to have resources on how to write a research paper, how to cite things and using like APA format, MLA format, Chicago format, which graduate schools are very strict about making sure you do not plagiarize. And so, and not just graduate schools, but the whole university. Next, Grammarly. This is pretty much a spell check. This is going to, so it's very helpful also. Make sure you kind of edits and proofreads your paper. College Essay Guy, that's a resource on writing personal statements. It'll give some resources as far as brainstorming exercises, kind of different structures of how to write your personal statement to prove your point. Harvard University Career Center, Cornell University recommendation letter, University of California Career Center. So a lot of universities are going to have resources available for you to use when applying to their graduate school or applying to any graduate school. So I would make sure to search, you can search these universities or any university and maybe graduate school application, and this can help come up with information to help you. Lastly, or next to last, the graduate school application consists of this is a simple article that I found that gives research on how to, the research behind do's and don'ts to your personal statement, different aspects of the application. And I was able to find this just by um, just searching around on the internet, and this popped up. So I'm sure if you just search graduate school application cases of death, this article will come up. It's just a PDF. And lastly, undergraduate major professors, for example, they might be very helpful with the application, your personal statement, your CV, and these things, what to add, what because they've actually done this. If you are going to school in physics, talking to a physics, someone who's got their PhD in physics can certainly help because they've gone through the same process. They can provide maybe even more help than, I could, or because they've actually kind of know the lingo, the specifics of that field. And I just want to say that make sure that you do your research, and just because there's plenty of resources out there, but make sure you do your research and of the university and resources, because every graduate school is going to have aspects of a research class. So making sure that you accomplish that learning how to do this now is very important. So with that said, I'm finishing my presentation, and I was wondering if you all have any questions. I'd be very excited to help.
So thank you very much for this very useful information. So I usually wondered about these questions. So thank you very much. So dear participants, would you like to answer some questions if you have?
Hello, I have a question. Can I ask, please? Yeah,
Sure.
hello, Mac. My name is Maya. So I'm from Western Kazakhstan. I'm a teacher of English. I'm 24 years old. First, I want to thank you on spending your precious time on us, sharing the useful and very handy informations for us, especially for students who are going to get the for example, me, I'm going to, it is my dream to study in the States and have the graduate degree. Actually, I graduated my first education bachelor degree I got here in Kazakhstan. So my first question, should your background be kind of outstanding to be a competitive applicant to, for example, to apply to Harvard University, or I don't know, one of the universities from Ivy League, or is it better to apply for community colleges? Which one is possible to apply to successful application?
Well, thank you for the question. It's a really good question. For community colleges, they don't usually offer, since you already received your bachelor's, they're mostly just your associate's degree. So that's like your first 2 years of your bachelor's degree. So like your core classes. So they're not going to be, I don't think they'll offer anything that can, I guess, as far as graduate school.
Okay.
Secondly, there's no harm in applying for, obviously the people who apply for Ivy League schools have a very good application and a very good, I guess, past experiences, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But it just almost depends on how you word it. I think the most important is that personal statement, making sure that you can tell your story.
Okay.
Obviously, there's some other aspects, like I'm sure the people who apply for Harvard, they got very good GPA during their undergrad. But it's just making sure that you kind of find these unique experiences, very helpful experiences that you can talk about and pull out from your application. And also want to ask, there's no harm in applying because Certain universities offer maybe like a few days, like a weekend or a week, and where the application fee is waived. So you can apply with, I mean, you don't have to pay anything.
Yeah. All right.
Does that help?
All right. Thank you. For searching the universities that suit my profession, like I'm a teacher of English that I said before, I mentioned. Should I look for the universities in common apps, or how does it call? Like, how is it called? Where the students usually search for the universities, common apps, or I heard that it is very important to first to look for the universities. You just start searching, and then you apply for the ones that, yeah.
Yeah, because you want to tailor your application for that university and program. Yeah, so using the common apps is certainly helpful. In my case, in a lot of people's cases, they can just search the best universities for so-and-so programs, or even searching kind of like searching kind of the specifics of what program that you even want, and then seeing what universities offer that program. Because certain universities, not every university is going to offer the same program. So yeah, definitely just, I mean, Google is very, very helpful when it comes to this. In my case, just searching who offers what. And
okay, thank you. And two other questions. Sorry for just asking so much. So another question is like about the recommendation letters. I can get the recommendation letter from my boss. Yes, am I right? The school where I am working currently, so I can have the application letter from them. I mean, from administration department maybe. But if they don't speak any English, should I just translate it, notarize it, or like?
They, yeah, I mean, that won't be any if you that won't be any problem if you translate, as long as that they know that that's what you're doing. As long as your boss knows that that's going to be you're translating it. And also I wanted to add that, like, making sure, like, searching like what programs universities apply for, like you can contact the universities like admission counselors and recruiters, and you can just find this usually by searching like the name of like a university and like international admissions, and it'll pop up like people to contact, and they can usually answer your question really easy because it's their job to help prospective students.
Okay, all right. And how many recommendations letters are usually needed for graduate students?
Well, in my presentation, in my case, I believe I had to submit like 4.
3, 4, yeah, 3, 4. But
yeah,
it depends on what kind of universities or what.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the university, because in the United States, every university does things differently. So that's why it's very difficult to even put together a presentation that kind of combines everything and apply to all, that's inclusive and applies to all universities. So it's definitely going to depend on the university. If you just search the university graduate school, it'll usually tell you what they require and how many recommendations letters they require.
Okay, thank you. And one more question, sorry. You said that it is not accepted to get the recommendation letter from your friend, yeah? But I have a friend from United States, and she used to work here in Kazakhstan by the program Fulbright, and she also used to teach, and now she is back to US, and she works in the educational field. But you see, she is my friend, and she is a worker in the educational field. Can
I think that sounds like an exception. Yeah, I just meant like your childhood best friend. I mean, because I'm sure like
yeah.
I mean, I'm friends with my supervisor, my boss, but I'm probably still going to ask for a recommendation letter.
All right. So,
That's something I
okay.
need to put that, make sure I have that example in the presentation for next time.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah, thank you. Those
Maury,
was really good.
Mac. Thank you so much. And by the
Okay,
way, good
thank
morning.
you.
Yeah, is it morning in Michigan now? Yeah. Is it morning in Michigan? Are you from Michigan?
No, okay,
Yeah.
no. So yeah, it's morning time, but I'm actually in Alabama. There's
Oh,
actually there's like a couple Troys, and I'm Troy
nice.
University's in Alabama. So yeah, it's
Oh,
morning time.
all right. Thank
Yeah, it's
you.
like as a 12-hour difference now between Kazakhstan, where you are, and
Yeah.
or Almaty time in the Central Time Zone.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. And we have question in the chat box from
Yeah.
Nadezhda. So some counselors say that private universities are more limited in funding. So for that reason, private universities are the better reason. Is there any sense, private or state?
So are you asking like which one's better to which one will offer more funding? Which one's better to apply for? Yeah, I mean in my case, seeing what I would definitely, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't have a reason for saying one's better than the other. In my case, it's the private universities are going to be a lot more expensive. So if you do attend a private university, making sure that you have received funding, and most people actually do when they apply to private school. But like being a successful graduate student, which I've given another presentation on, it's a little bit more than just funding. It's finding the right fit for you and everything. But I would think private schools do offer quite a bit of funding because they are so expensive.
Okay, thank you. So maybe anyone else has questions? You can write them in the chat box or you can unmute. And oh, here we have a question from Asim. Does the date of the recommendation letter matter for the university? For example, if it was written in 2018, can I apply for the program in 2021? Or it is desirable to be newly written?
Yeah, getting like an updated recommendation letter is optimal because there's no telling what have the changes or what's happened in those 3 years.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone else have questions?
I have a question. When should a graduate student start to fill the application and like, I don't know, when should he start to apply and start to prepare? Yeah. Like how long? Maybe 1 year ago?
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you do it 1 year, I think that would be more than enough time. But I can't give you a certain, I wouldn't do it. Let me think. I wouldn't do it very closely. If you give yourself a year, I mean, that's more than enough time because it'll improve the quality of your application because you have more time to get the recommendation letters and prepare everything. And also for to get accepted, and if you get accepted, to get different finding out how you're going to get to the university, go your visa interview, all those things. So I don't have a certain I guess timetable in my head. but I mean, a year was definitely more than enough time.
Okay, thank you. So there are 3 minutes left. Any other questions, or we can finish? Mhm. I see. No one have questions. I see. I think you answered all of them. Thank you. It was very informative from Asim. Yeah. Okay, so in conclusion, I'd like to thank you. Thanks for joining our meeting, and thank you, Matt, for this information. I think it's very useful for everyone and also for me too. Thank you. So stay tuned on our Instagram and Facebook pages, and also you can see our meetings in YouTube, Kazakhstan American Corners, and our Instagram page, American Corner Activia. So
Yep. Thank you for having me.
thank you.
Yep. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yes. We'll see.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Dinara?